Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery, and today we're just going to do some freestyling. This is a basic beginner's guide to handling wire. So we're just getting our heads around the basics, strengthening up your fingers, just getting used to handling the wire. We're going to be making all these lovely loops and bends and curls, and you all know how much I love curls. So this is going to be like a practice session, and you get these lovely little bits of jewellery as a finished result. So it's just a bit of freestyling for beginners. There's no weaves, there's no designs to follow. We're just going to strengthen up our hands and have a little make with some jewellery. So I've put a list in the description below of what you'll need. I only use 2 different gauges of wire on this. So as long as you've got a thick sturdy one and a slightly thinner one, you can really use whatever you want to do these. And we're just playing around with the design, so we'll see how we get on. As well, as always, there's links to my Facebook, Instagram, and my Etsy shop. And let's get on with it. So to make this bracelet today, you're going to need 2 different wire gauges. I'm using 1.5mm wire, which is 14 gauge, and I've cut one length at 10 inches. That's 26 centimeters, and I'm going to be using them for my base wires. I'm using 0.8mm wire, which is 20 gauge. And I've cut a length at 18 inches, that's 46 centimeters. So you've got the 2 different gauges. If you're making a large bracelet or a smaller one, then you'll obviously need different sizes. As a rough to go on, if I'm making a 6-inch bracelet, I'll then add 4 inches on to this big thick base wire. I'll add 4 inches on just for wire handling and for finishing off the ends. So once you've got your wire lengths worked out, and you can use slightly different gauges if you want to, we're going to be needing some bail pliers for curling and looking after the bigger wires, your pliers and your cutters, and I'm using some old cutters today so I don't spoil my good ones on that thick wire. Also, people keep asking where I get my wire from. I buy it on the reel because it just works out better for me that way. I buy from Metal Close for You because I'm in the UK and I find they're really good, reasonable prices, and I use them on eBay. So to attach, we're going to wrap the 0.8mm wire, your base wire, around your frame wire. If we go around twice just to start with, and then really squeeze that on so we've got a proper join. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to use my fingers to shape a little U shape into the wire. And then holding that, always holding the front of the wire in place. I'm going to then wrap around the frame wire. Really don't have much space here at all with these big long wires. Now it will take a bit of practice for you to get it as tidy as I'm doing it. Just have a play. Don't make something and expect it to be perfect straight away. We are practicing, we're freestyling, and we're just having a play with shaping the wires. So take your wire, using your fingers to shape the wire. Take your time, do it really slowly and watch the shapes forming as you're doing it. And this time I'm going to go and take it all the way around. So I'm constantly keep holding it against the wire as I'm going around. So there we have a little loop, and then holding it in place on the front there. I'm going to take this wire around the frame wire. So you can either go around the back again, so your wire's coming out the top, or you can then start again on this side. I think I went round, or I just went round a couple of times at the beginning. So now I'll go this way. I think I'll put another loop in that. So you just got to take it really slow and do whatever feels right. So you can do loops or half wraps. I'll go around again there. So now I'll do something a bit different. I'll go around. I'll do a little loop like that against the wire, and then I'll do a slightly bigger loop. And then I'll do a little one. So I've got 3 little loops, and then I'll bend it around and join back on. Going around. And if we oxidise this when it's done, it'll look really nice, because all the dark that will stay like behind, between the wires, that'll look really nice. If you're using a thinner base wire, then you'll have to do more joins to keep the strength. If you're using a thicker base wire, then you'd go a little bit further like I did there before you do a join. So I'm going to do another loop here. I'm going to do a little loop. And then I'm going to join on. And I'm going to scoop over. And I'm going to join back on there. So I've just got a scoop there. And I might do another scoop using my fingers to bend the wire. And then I will do another loop. It's a good way of finding your own style as well. You might find you prefer looping in a certain way. You might find that you can shape the wires really well, or you may find that you're really struggling to get a loop and you just want to practice just making loads of loops. It's actually a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be a lot more flimsy. And I'm doing it all, I'm keeping it all flat. I'm keeping it all to the front. So you have to be careful that you have to really try and keep it all to the front. Make sure it doesn't twist around. These are nylon pliers. I forgot to mention these at the beginning. I always have them handy for just in case, and they don't mark the wires. So I'm going to keep going a bit further, just taking your time shaping the wires. And the more you play with the wires, the more you'll learn the best way that you handle the wires. I do like to push into the wires to make the loops. You may prefer to just bend the wires around and find that it just works on its own. Oops. So I'm almost at the end of my wires now. I think I'll do a couple of loops. And I'm on that last little bit of wire, so I'll just join on there. And if you find you're struggling, which you will struggle to start with because it's not easy and it is very tough on your fingers, that just keep making them, have a play, make a couple. During this video, I've already ripped it off twice and started again, purely because my wire wasn't long enough. So I thought rather than explain to you to use longer wires, I'll just throw it in the bin and start again. So don't be afraid to just slide it straight off there and start again if you're not happy. And the more practice you have, the better you'll get. And the better you get, the more happy you'll be with your work. So I've got a couple of inches on the one side and a couple of inches on the other. I'm going to slide it along a little bit. It's central. I'm going to wrap that around twice on the end. So we've got 2 wraps on the ends. So I shall cut that nice and short there, and on that side there, make sure it's nice and tight. So the next bit now is shaping it round into a bracelet or a bangle. You can just shape it around with your hands if you want to. If you're posh like me, you can get yourself a bracelet mandrel. Now this, you just wrap it around there and it gives you the shape that you want. But it's too big to show you on this video at the moment, so I'm going to bend that and then show you what I've done. So I've just shaped my bracelet. What you can do is if you've got like a tub or something, you can wrap it around that. I do love that big bracelet mandrel. It's like a ring mandrel, only it's massive. And it wasn't much either, really, from eBay. It's really heavy. It's brilliant. Oh, heavy. Right, so I've got my bracelet shape. That's how big I want it to be. So what we can do is we can try it and work out how much wire we've got at the end to play with there. Now we need to curl the ends. So what I'm going to do is worked out how long I want it to be. I'm going to cut it longer than I want it to be. So it's bigger than we want it to be. And then I'm going to use my bail pliers on this thick wire, because if you use round nose pliers on this wire, you're just going to kill them. So I've got these Beadsmith bail pliers, and using the smallest one, I'm just going to bend the end around really tight into a tight little loop, and then I'm going to curl it around into a bigger loop like that. I'm going to do the same for this one. I'm going to bend that round in a minute because I've done it the wrong way. I'm going to do it again in a tight loop on the end. It's really tough to do. Like that. And then pull it around into a bigger loop. Oh, it's tough to handle and it's hard to do it behind the camera. Like that. Right. So I'm gripping the whole thing, holding the bracelet, and I'm twisting it like this. Because it was meant to go that way. And if that goes up, I'll have this one coming down. So I'm going to grip that one. And I'm going to bend it that way. So I've got my ends and I've got the bracelet shape starting to take place. I'm going to get that on the mandrel again to reshape it. So if you want to, you can just stop here and oxidize it. And that's quite a nice little tidy bracelet. Or we can now make a clasp for this to join it together to stop it coming off. The other thing you can do if you want to is you can actually finish these ends up here. Open it up. So you've got enough room to get your wrist in. And we can make a few chain links now to join it together. It's entirely up to you. There's so much you can do with this. And it's such a delicate little thing when it's done. So let's make some links and join it together at the back there. So if we just make a few quick jumpings using your bail pliers and your 1.5mm wire, so I can get the light a bit closer. And just choose a setting, a size, your bail pliers. And we just wrap it around. I think we'll need, if we're having 2 at each end, we'll need 4. I'll do an extra bit just in case. So now we just need to cut along this line and hopefully not shoot them across the room like that bit just did. You can see why you don't use your good cutters on this wire. So you've got yourself little jumpings, but they've all got rough edges. You'll have a sharp end on one and a flat end on the other, so you need to cut that sharp end off so you've got 2 flat ends. You need to do that for all of them. Then you'll need another pair of pliers. So I've got my bent nose pliers, just so you can straighten them up. You've got yourself some little jumpings. The amount of jumpings that you'll need depends on how big or small you want your piece, your chain part to be. So I've just cut that end off so it's nice and flush. Now we're just going to make a clasp for the end. So I'm just going to grip that end again to make a small loop right close to the end. And then using a bigger part of the pliers, I'm going to wrap that around there. Got that. And then here at the top, I'm going to bend it over there. I'm going to cut that off there. If you've got a little file, you can always just take these sharp bits off. You can either have this longer so it's got like a bit to grab onto, or you could do it here so it's a bit shorter. Just need a loop, and then this is going to go through a jump ring. Oops. Break my nails, and then that goes through the jump ring, so it just holds it together, the back of the bracelet. So I'm just attaching these rings onto the back here, and I've just bent this so I can attach this on there too. Really, you just have to attach it and then see where it is to see how you need to adjust it. So I want that to sit flat, and it's not, it's up. So I need to add another ring so that it sits flat. So as I've got two there, if I take that back off, so we're going to need 3. So I've got 3 on the other side, so I'll attach it to the third one. So we need an odd number for it to sit the other way. I hope I'm making sense and not just mumbling to myself here. So that sits at that angle now. So that can loop onto that one, and it all sits nice and flat. Do you know what I mean? So that your middle clasp here is going to sit flat against your wrist. So your chain links need to be like this so that it loops that way. So to make the pendant, we'll start with 6 inches of your frame wire, 15 centimetres. That's 1.5mm wire, 14 gauge. And I'm going to be calling it frame wire just so we don't get confused. And the base wire, I've cut, is it 10 inches? So that's 25 centimetres of base wire, which is 20 gauge. That's 0.8mm wire, so I'll be calling this base wire and this frame wire just so we don't get confused. Made a little jump ring. That's 8mm outside measurement. Again, tools, I've got my bail pliers, my normal pliers and my cutters. I'm using some old cutters today so I don't damage my nice cutters on the thicker wire. Also, you'll need a second pair of pliers for attaching the jump ring. And I always like to have the nylon pliers to hand, but that's not important. So we're going to start as we did for the bracelet. Give ourselves a little bit of length on the end of that frame wire. And then take your base wire, your thinner one. Leaving a little bit of length so you got something to hold on to. Just going to wrap around and attach to that frame wire. Again, this is freestyle, so you can do anything you want. I'm just going to give you some ideas. Give myself a bit of space. Right, so we're doing it to match the bracelet, so similar to what you did. Again, you can do anything you like, and if you're not happy, slide it straight off and start again, because this is a practice piece really. This is all about learning and getting a feel for the wires, so take your time. So I've put a little loop in there, I've put a little wonky loop on there, and now I'm going to do a loop. That's a half loop, isn't it? That's not a loop. So I've done a loop now. And then holding it against the frame wire, take it round to the back. If you do little loops like I have there, it's twisted a little bit, it's hard to hold it to the front. If you do a big nice big loop or curve, it's easier to hold when you bend it around the frame wire. So we'll do another one of those, a big loop. And then holding that, I'll wrap that around. I think I'll do another little loop. And there, wrap it around. Trying to keep it all quite flat. And I'll do a half loop. So I've planned a little series of these. If you like this one, I'll just put the next series on. And I'm going to do with adding 2 wires, adding 3 wires, working it into a design, adding beads, adding dangles. So we'll start with getting used to the wires, getting used to how they feel and making loops and shapes, and then we'll move on to adding beads and dangles, adding weaves. If we take it a step at a time, it just makes it that much easier to do and understand what you're doing. I think that's enough. I think that's all I want to do. Just a little bit in the middle there, because I don't want it too big. So I'm going to come round again so I finish with 2 wraps. That side's got 2 wraps. I'll bring it round the front there. Sorry if I'm mumbling. I do focus on what I'm doing rather than what I'm saying. We're levelling it all up now. So this is going to be the pendant to match the bracelet. So make sure all of this is central, because it does slide. Make sure it's central on your wire, so you've got a bit of space on the ends. And then we're going to take it, we're going to bend it around. So I thought about bending it first and then wrapping our wire around it, but I think it's, when you're starting off and you're getting used to handling the wires, it's easier to do it in this way. So we're going to pull it into a nice loop shape like this. So we've got our pendant shape starting to take shape. I'm going to pull these wires down just to get them out the way for now. So we can see our pendant starting to shape. So take your pliers. I'm going to take this wire on the right. We're going to bend it over to the right like that. And then we're going to take one of these wires and we're going to wrap around the two wires together at the top. Like that. So now take your wire cutters. We're going to cut this one quite short. We're going to leave this one quite long. So you've got this. I'm going to bend this one around. That top wire. I was wondering why I was struggling today, and I've just realised that I haven't got my reading glasses on. It would be so much better if I could actually see what I'm doing. Right, now I can see what I'm doing. That wire's a bit short to go around there. So I'm squeezing them all in place. And then we're going to take the bail pliers to curl these big wires. And the little one, I'm going to curl this one this way and this one this way. Grabbing it on the end, I'm just going to cut that end a bit better. Grabbing it on the end. I'm going to bend it around into a tight little loop, like that. And then this one, I'm going to bend the end around into a tight loop, like we did with the bracelet. And then I'm going to bend it around into a bigger loop, like that. I think this wire here I'm going to cut that one. You really can do anything you want with these wires. This is just getting used to handling wires, playing with wires. Did I say you needed round nose pliers? Because I've just picked up my round nose pliers. So I'm just going to curl this one and tuck it out the way. So I might have cheated there using a tool I didn't tell you that you needed. So here we have a little pendant to match our bracelet. And if we take your last jump ring and your two pairs of pliers, we're just going to attach that to the top there. So that joins onto your cord. So you could make two if you want to make earrings, and you take your left wire was big to make the top loop. On your other one, you'd make your right wire big and do it the other way around, or just turn it around like that. So you've got your big one on this side. Hope that makes sense. So there we have a cute little pendant and matching bracelet. For absolute beginners, for getting used to handling your wires and having a play with getting your head around just twisting and wrapping and making cute little simple things. I'm going to oxidise these to see how they look. So I've just oxidised these and I'm really pleased how they've come out. did a video on oxidizing a while ago, but I've learned a few little tips and tricks since then, so I'll have to do another video. So this has been part 1. I'll do part 2 and I'll put that on here soon. So this is basic beginner's guide to wire handling, and part 2 will be coming soon. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next video. Please subscribe if you haven't already.